Hey, so viewers, Big Ronnie here with another Stay at Home series interview. Just wanted to take a second to thank everybody for watching and participating. Just especially appreciate the artists contributing. We got some really interesting guests lined up just for this week, and a nice long list that we're working through. And if you've reached out to us and we haven't gotten back to you, I'm sorry. We definitely will. We are interested in the stories of the lockdown and of COVID now. We appreciate your support overall. Thank you to our Patreon subscribers and those who would like to support us on Patreon. Please take a look, patreon.com/Sold Magazine. And just another friendly reminder for everyone out there, art fans, street art fans, to support your local living, working artists right now. Go to their websites, go to their Instagrams, click, buy some merch, buy a t-shirt, keep the ball moving. Keep New York running, and let's talk about today's artist who, I have to mention the date. It's Sunday, May 3rd, 2020, and today's artist guest is Chinon Maria. Good afternoon, how are you?
Good afternoon, good afternoon. I am good. I'm sitting in my studio, my home studio, and drinking some coffee and talking to you, so it couldn't be better.
Now, when we were doing our prep for you, I think you might be the only New York artist who comes from Vermont by way of France.
Yes, so it's I have a sort of interesting background a little bit. I grew up in Vermont, and I have a Colombian mother, and I also have a lot of family that's also in France. I went to school in France, and so yes, so I kind of do sort of a trifecta of Vermont, New York, Colombia, and France. And now I'm married to a Mexican. So now that's also thrown into the mix as well, places I'm kind of coming from.
Now, you've also bounced around education-wise for art. You are formally trained, no?
Yes, I am. I went to school at the Pontevin School of Contemporary Art in France. But I was also a professional skier in my past life. So I was on a skiing scholarship in Montana, over in Bozeman as well. So
now, I would imagine the rigors and the training and everything that goes into preparing for flying down a mountain is a little different than preparing for working on a canvas or a piece or something like that today.
It's interesting that you said that, because I have to say that throwing myself down an icy slope at like 70 miles an hour is super high adrenaline. And it's like that adrenaline that like keeps you in the game. It's like super exciting, and it's like, your life is on the line, and you're like, if you make one wrong move. But I have to say, I think one of the reasons for why I got into making, large paintings and murals was because of the aspect that like the adrenaline just kind of kicks in. And when you see this huge wall that you have to paint in sometimes just a few hours or a few days or whatever, it's like that adrenaline of painting big and moving your body around the space. And it's like a lot of that body movement and that adrenaline is like sort of keyed in to my old skiing days for sure.
So let's talk about edge control. Because I'm a ice hockey player.
Okay. And then it's actually really similar. It's all about like going on and off your edges.
Exactly. That's the point I'm making. Well, you're tackling most projects today with a well-rounded knowledge of not only the medium, the task, what's going on. You've probably had to do it 500 times and never enjoyed it. How do you maintain the edges today and stop it from feeling a little repetitive while we're indoors and things like that?
I think like the one thing that's been really interesting is that I think that this whole virus has really upended our entire world. Every industry is facing new challenges. And then personally, we all go through a day where we feel like a completely like bipolar psycho, just because it's like, you're like, like this, and then you're like this, and then you're like this, and we're just like we're all over the place, in our own minds, having to go through everything. So I think that I've learned a lot from my husband. Actually, he meditates every day, and he's a very focused, and he's able to really teach me a lot of what he's learned over his education with meditation. And that's just to kind of also like stay calm and also be really grateful for like the small things and accepting that you are going to go through good days and bad days and good moments and bad moments. So one of the things that I have sort of really realized is a lot of like self-reflection, and that our world is being turned upside down. And that's, maybe it's really horrible, but at the same time, I think it's a time for us to re-examine and to take a look again at what we do. And so I've been going actually back to a lot of my older work and revamping it and adding new things and taking a new spin on how I saw the world, and then taking that old work and kind of updating it. And now it has sort of taken on uh, a new level of what it means. And so I think that's pretty interesting, actually.
See, I think it's so important right now for this time in American history, world history, for everyone really just to get back to what they're good at.
Right.
You know, artists need to create. You know, it's one thing during normal times that artists need three jobs and, you know, to survive and to make ends meet and things like that. But artists need to create right now. And, you know, the skills that you're bringing into this should not be the only things that you take out of it. You know,
Right.
how are you keeping the ball moving in terms of what you've learned? I think you're a professional student also at this point. You know,
Right.
that usually doesn't stop.
Hmm. Yeah, I think one of the things is that it's a time to really push yourself too as well, and do things that you necessarily maybe didn't have the chance to do or the time to do. So one of the projects that I've sort of embraced recently is, I love education. I love to be able to embrace like early education for children, and to teach them also about the things that I've been lucky enough to learn, and sort of pass that torch on to the younger generation. And so one of the projects I've been really passionate about actually is I started it's called Art World Explore Kids. And it's a YouTube series just for children to learn about art history and art, and it's sort of a fun way to engage them during this time of crisis. So it's almost as if you sort of, this time has been really a time to pivot, you know, as an artist, and to say, you know, how can you take what you've learned and also be able to share it and pass it around, and to hopefully expose people to, you know, more art, and then also for yourself to just say, you know, you can do more than what you've been doing in the past, or you know, kind of pushing yourself a little bit, which is beautiful. I think it's one of the positive things coming out from all of this, is that it's time to pivot, it's time to re-examine things, it's a time to move forward and reflect, and powerful.
Now, in your progression as an artist, when did it resonate with you to take your work to the public space?
One of the things that's really interesting is I worked in when I first arrived in New York City, I was an intern and also a contributor to Paper Magazine. This was back in the 2009. I just graduated college. And it was really interesting, and I was exposed to such a great world that I had been admiring for such a long time. And so I saw that sort of world intersect with then also the contemporary art market. And then I was fortunate enough to work in the contemporary art market for a while, and for an individual who was selling to some of the top art collectors in the world. And I just became really disillusioned with the whole freaking scene. Like it was something that like I wanted that job probably since I was a child. I was like, I'm here, I'm, you know, selling, you know, Jeff Koons work and Andy Warhol's, and like I'm on like the cutting edge of like, you know, with all these great collectors, and I felt like this was great. But then all of a sudden it was the realization of being like, this is just an elitist group of people, and like the whole industry, I just felt like just needed to be shaped. I just started to realize that it just wasn't for me. I wanted, you know, personally, I think art needs to be for everybody. Art needs to be shared. You know, you cannot walk into, you know, some people can't even walk into a gallery because they don't feel welcomed. And that is a complete disgrace. That's not why we create art. You know, we create art because we want everyone to enjoy it. And that's what really pushed me into the idea of like, I have to create work that everybody can see and enjoy, and that are welcome to see it. And you don't have to have, you know, a degree from Sotheby's, or, you know, live in a penthouse on Kent Avenue, on, you know, Park Avenue, on Park Avenue, to say that you have the right to say if you like it or not. And so that's how I sort of switched over into saying like, I'm making work for everybody. This is a, you know, world, and that everyone should have the opportunity to enjoy. So.
Now, what do you think about the last couple of years? Not only street artists, but also big time artists have dabbled in pure exclusivity and not allowing their products to make it, their work, their art, to make it to the public. A couple of examples were that street art mural in LA that had a tent up and a security guard said you couldn't come in unless you had a certain amount of followers. And you also had the Wu-Tang album that came out, and they were printed one copy of it and sold it. You know, that's the opposite of what you're going after. So where does that you know, how do you feel about things like that?
You know, when it comes to social media, it's like this like complete chaos of just, I mean, you love it and you hate it at the same time. I think it's been wonderful for so many artists, just because they can get their work out there, which I fully support. But at the same time, it's run by one of the largest corporations in the entire world, which is completely evil, at the same time. And so here you are, it's like more and more, you know, it's, are you paying for promotions? Are you, you know, you're under this like algorithms, and it's just, it's bullshit. It really is. And at the same time, we do live in a world that historically, is run by elites, and that needs to be broken down, and that needs to be, those walls need to be seriously just bulldozed. And I don't like to bulldoze any type of wall, you know, like I'm, you know, only the wall that Trump's trying to build. You know, so like walls are for us to be, you know, united together.
You know, I'm thinking when you were talking about your early gallery experience, run by elites. Once you get to that level, don't you think everything is just boiled down to fuck it yes or fuck it no? This is a good idea, this is a bad idea, and anybody that's in our way is, you know, really not our problem anymore. Isn't that every industry?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think so. I mean, I think the hard thing though about the like the contemporary art market is that it's a lot of people just really trying way too hard to sell artwork for way overpriced, you know, price tags are just astronomical. And they think that they can get away with literally stealing. And, you know, and the fact is at the end of the day, unfortunately, a lot of artists are not seeing that. You know, when it's not just the gallery, it's the dealers behind all these closed doors. It's the deals that happen not even in the galleries, which is the hardest thing. And so like that was just, it's, yeah, to me, it seems criminal, actually.
Now you've exhibited in one of the biggest, most high-profile galleries around right now, World Trade Center.
Yes, I've been very fortunate. They've been wonderful supporters, and they've been really wonderful. And so I've been able to sell to a lot of, you know, great people and everything like that. I would say, like I said, I definitely embrace galleries. You know, I love the fact that galleries exist. And it's just unfortunate that the, you know, the very tippity top of any industry, it's sometimes, like I said, there has to be a balance in everything in life. And so, like I said, that's one of the reasons why I paint paintings, because I love to paint. But definitely my passion is with, you know, with large murals.
Now, that must be bugging you now, not being able to work on anything large scale outdoors now.
Yes, tremendously. You've no idea. I had a lot of projects that have been put on hold that I was really looking forward to since beginning in winter. And so now I just have to, you know, be patient. And like I said, sort of pivot a little bit, and that's okay too. Like who knows what's going to come out of this. And we all just have to, you know, stay super strong and positive and just keep that light burning and hopeful, because, you know, things are going to change, and change is tough, but, you know, change is good as well. So
A lot of the artists that we
stay healthy.
A lot of the artists that we talk to say, this is really no big deal to me. This is my normal routine anyway, working indoors 10 hours a day and letting people go about their own blah, 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 blah. Is that you, or how do you feel about it?
You know, I have a big personality. I love people. I definitely a huge extrovert. And I always have been since I was a child. But the fact is at the same time, I grew up in Vermont, you know, and so I learned how to entertain myself, you know, playing rivers and, scrape my knee climbing up trees and spending a lot of time alone. And so I also have this like homebody sense to me as well. And to be honest, I love staying at home. I love not having to take a shower. I like cooking at home. I definitely miss some restaurants, absolutely. But staying at home for me, it's like I make work at home. I'm very much like I love making my artwork at home and everything. That's why I have a home studio.
Now, the multi-ethnic marriage plus your travel, what is cooking like at home?
It's amazing. I mean, so I also grew up with a dad who's a chef. So I learned from, they used to actually at the restaurant at the hotel that I grew up in, they used to put me up on milk crates, so I could stand up and reach the countertop. And my dad, gave me a knife at the age of 6 and was like, here, this is how you cut onions. This is how it's done. So fortunately, I grew up, in a professional kitchen, learning how to cook and appreciating good food. And so that has been passed down to me. And so I love cooking. I just did a pork shoulder the other day. I made homemade carnitas for my husband who's Mexican, and they were freaking amazing. He's like, this is better than any street food I have had in Mexico. So yeah, there's lots of spices. I think jalapenos, and go in almost every single meal. It's like we eat it 3 times a day. My father would probably kill me knowing that.
Erica, you don't never make me carnitas. Why? Well, she's mostly vegetarian. That's why. So let's talk about your work a little bit. Obviously, we can see behind you, your work is feminine, flowery, earthy, nature, colorful.
Yes.
Where's the root of that? Where does that come from?
So as I mentioned earlier, my mother is from South America. She's Colombian. And she came to Vermont back in the 1960s and brought with her to Vermont probably more of her identity than she probably would if she was living in New York or even in Colombia. She really strongly took her culture and brought it home with her and was very, very proud. So here I was growing up in Vermont, multicultural, and a lot of florals, a lot of like that vibrancy was just in our home. Like I go over to people's, other homes and I was like, that's not what my home looks like. Just because our home was like filled with like tons of flowers and lots of, just, it was so vibrant. And my mom's personality is absolutely massive. And so there's that side of it. And then my grandmother on my paternal side, she's this, very like New England waspy interior decorator, and like everything had to have wallpaper. And so on that side, I grew up like having, just the William Morris designs, all this sort of lots of flowers and things like that. So that was also on that side. And it just sort of has always stuck with me, with that sort of all the flowers and that sort of vibrancy of, decorating things and having decoration amongst all the faces that I draw and things like that. But then also as well, I'm a huge animation fan. I love Tex Avery, like the golden age of animation, Walt Disney. I love animation. So it's a combination of like these, that's vibrancy of my culture, this New England, wallpapers and things like that. And then also this playfulness of like animation that kind of fuses in everything. And then I'm a huge, massive feminist. So it's a lot of like this, for a lot of my work, it's my own narrative. It's a feminine narrative amongst a lot of things. Like I did a big series all about New York City. And it's this new narrative of saying like, listen, this history that we've had for a long time in New York, it's amazing and beautiful. But I don't see it's all gray, it's all dark, it's very, very masculine. So for me, it's a retelling of history through a feminine narrative that I can all of a sudden feel represented in that history.
Well, I can obviously see how it would be important for you to represent the strong females, either, ideally, or specific people from your past or history. But are they meant to read religious? Because I see like some of the halo stuff around the head. I think that looks to me a little biblical.
Yeah, there's definitely a play with when it comes to growing up, it was really interesting. I was not raised religious at all, but my house was completely, there was so many religious iconographies. Like above my mother's bed was a massive crucifix. And I was like, Mom, why is that man, like, why is he suffering? I never went to church. I went to church, I think, once when I was younger, and I started to cry because I got scared, and I was like, what is this place? So it was almost as if all these images were imprinted in me when I was younger, a lot of Catholic iconography, but I didn't really understand it. I didn't know why it was there. My mom had a big collection of, beautiful pieces but they were religious pieces, altars and, Madonnas with child. And I just was like, it was there, and yet I didn't really understand the history of it or like the stories behind it, but it was present. And so that's still, that fuses into this whole storyline as well.
You don't choose the same palette every time.
No.
It looks like every piece is different.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Where does that come from, that randomness of palette?
I think the main thing for me is that I just love vibrancy. I love all colors. I really do. And so that had something to play into. I really like color combinations as well. So all of a sudden, if I'm working, let's say, with one palette, I sort of work with colors that I think are going to play around with it and make it sort of pop out.
All right, let's talk about your lockdown, your current situation. Where are you? You're in Vermont, correct?
I am Vermont, yes. Right now I'm in southern Vermont, between like where Bennington is and also the Berkshires.
And you are locked down with a husband and a bunny.
Yes, a husband and a bunny, yes. Sebastian, do you want to grab the bunny for me? I think the bunny wants to say hello.
Now, what are you listening to when you're working at home these days?
Everything. I'm a huge NPR fan, so I'm like a big news buff. So I listen to a lot of NPR, WNYC. I'm a huge supporter of that. And then for other music, God, we listen to everything. A lot of Disney. Yeah, lots of Disney. Oh my gosh, my husband, he's like such an angel. We listen to a lot of Disney music. And then,
that's a big bunny. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is Walnut. Professor Walnut. This is Professor Walnut. This is the star of the show, actually. He's
holy cow! No kidding, baby. Why didn't we interview the bunny first? That's crazy.
Yeah, they're
hello, Professor.
They're really cute and cuddly and soft. Yeah. So then other music that we listen to is let's see, LP. I really love her work. And just everything. Lots of 80s. Lots of 80s music. Madonna, big Madonna fan, of course. So, yeah.
What are we snacking on? Not big meals. What's the favorite quarantine snack of the house?
Oh, God. I'm a big popcorn fan, homemade popcorn. That's sort of like my jam. I could live on homemade popcorn. I usually put on a little bit of like a soy sauce, but it's like the Bragg's. So I put Bragg's on top there with a little bit of tahini mixed in. That's tasty.
That sounds good.
Yeah, you should try it.
We do a little hot sauce with our popcorn.
Oh, that's how my husband does it. He does hot sauce. He does Valentina, lime, and tahini. It's all about the little tahini, though. I tell you. Chili powder. Yeah, and chili powder.
All right, serious question, then funny question.
Okay.
Serious question. What hopes do you have for the art scene to stay safer when we come out of this? Obviously, we're not going to be packing into small Lower East Side galleries anytime soon the way we were. Right. But what do you think, what do you hope is going to change?
Bring it more onto the streets. I think that's the only option. Don't pack into a gallery, pack in on the streets. Like I think there's going to be hopefully more outdoor viewing, more public art that's going to be happening, more things to sort of interact with outside that you don't have to necessarily interact with everyone at the same time. You can have your social distancing set up. I think that's kind of where we're headed to, which I think is nice. I love the outdoors, so I'm very much like, get us outside. Let us get some fresh air.
I love the outdoor mural projects, not only for the festivals, but also that you don't have to be packed in front of a 4x3 piece
Hmm.
looking at it. It's a 60-foot wall, and everybody can appreciate it from down the block even.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm hoping things will be headed to more and more.
The director just called. We're making a movie about your life. Who plays you?
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I think that I would love if it was like if it wasn't like if we were, let's say I was like 60 or no 30 years older. Gosh, I would love if Helena Bonham Carter played me. So yeah, that would be nice. but not like right now because obviously she's a little older, so we'd have to fast forward my life a little bit, be more of a retrospective of
The
my life.
colors in your work would probably not play well in a Tim Burton movie, though.
But Tim Burton's one of my favorite directors. I'm a huge, like I have a very dark sense of humor, which doesn't seem like it goes with any of this, but I do actually. Strange enough. Maybe I'm like trying to suppress it with like all the bright colors.
So have you ever done a predominantly dark piece, a black piece?
I've done some darker pieces, absolutely. Especially like during like my education in college. Yeah, there was a lot of darker pieces. Because I thought that was like cooler. I'm like, yeah, I'm really in depth and dark and like creepy and weird. And then I'm like, no, I'm not.
What about any hidden talents?
Hidden talents. I don't know. We sort of spoke about it earlier, but I guess it's not that hidden anymore. The fact that like I used to throw myself down a hill at 70 miles an hour. So yeah, so I know how to ski really well. Let's see. I guess my kitchen skills. Yeah, my husband's like in the background. He's like, he's gained like probably 30 pounds since I met him.
That's happy. That's happy.
He's happy.
That's called happy.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Oh, you know what? I make a really, really good homemade tortilla.
All right, let's keep it on food. What do you miss? What restaurant do you miss? Where could you go right now if you had the opportunity?
Good one. Good question. Let's see. To be honest, I love good food. I grew up with this great chef, but let me tell you, right now, if you were to ask me, I would go to like a little tiny diner, like on the Upper East Side, because I love those freaking diners. There's like some secret gems on the Upper East Side, strange enough, for like really good old school diners. Yeah, I would go for like some good diner food right now. Yeah, strange enough. That and like sushi.
Sushi has come up more than once as the most missed food. So there you go. Now, who annoys who more? Do you get on your husband's nerves, or does he get on your nerves?
Sebastian. That's a good question. I guess the same. I mean, I think that we each do things. No, you know what? No, I take that back. He definitely annoys me more. There's a lot more screaming on my end, being like,
To get out of the house, you ever think about putting the bunny on a leash just to gotta go for a walk or something?
Oh, no, we don't put him on a leash. We just throw him outside.
Oh, nice.
And my husband hopes a hawk gets him.
Oh.
No. He loves the rabbit. He loves the rabbit. No, but the rabbit is good. He listens and he like stays and he hops around and eats my neighbor's plants and digs holes in the ground, and yeah, he's a good guy.
Very cool. Before I let you go, I would like to thank you very much for your time. This was lovely. It started out a little serious. We got some giggles in at the end. Thank you very much for that. The bunny was adorable. Oh my God.
Thank you.
Let everyone know who's watching, where they can find you online, your Instagram, your website, and such.
Absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at Chinon Maria. That is CHINON, and then Maria, MARIA. On Instagram, and then same for I'm kind of the only one with that name. So Google me, you'll find my website and all that sort of good stuff. So Chinon Maria.
Plug Our World Explorer one more time.
Yes, and so I'm creating a great program for children. So if you have kids at home and they're driving you absolutely loopy and crazy, go to Art World Explorer Kids on YouTube, and you'll find some of the videos that we're creating. They're pretty awesome and fun and really cute and adorable. And again, that's Art World Explorer Kids.
Well, thank you
Oh,
again.
and
I'm
I just spilled my coffee on me.
That's okay. Thank you very much for your time, Chinon Maria. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you again out there, and stay as positive and happy as you are. Looks like you're doing a great job over there.
Thank you, and you stay healthy and safe as well. Okay, keep on washing those hands with manitas of yours.
Have a
All
great
right,
day.
take care. Bye bye. Thank you so much.
We are sold out with Chinon Maria.